Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning in. This is probably like one of our last episodes before we start our first hunt. And stay tuned to the end of this episode because on the last episode we had everybody write in the comments and pick a name. We're gonna pick that name. If somebody's gonna win a brand new Pro 3.0 Tacticam, we'll send that out to you. And we got a farm here that I've got a couple of big bucks on this year, and so let's get to work on it. Okay, this is odd because now Justin went, where did Justin go? He went to get light bulbs?
He went to Walmart for you to get some
light bulbs. So I got my buddy Joel here, and his buddy Kyle, and Jason, and behind the camera there James. And so including Justin, every one of you guys is from New York.
That's right, yep.
So I'm sitting out here and just like started thinking about it, like, geez, everybody here is from New York. Yeah. I can't imagine why everyone would want to leave and come to Iowa, but I thought somebody's still in New York, right?
Yeah, for now. Kyle.
Right, so these guys are here helping with the excavator and stuff. We're going to be putting in a couple of drain tiles in a small food plot. It's been like one of my best food plots, but it's got a big low spot in there, especially wet years like this, just a big puddle out there, so we can't grow anything in it. But the deer we're looking for, a buck that's been here for 3 years, so he's like 6 now. He didn't do like a huge jumps, but it's just been kind of continually, jump. So he's like a 6x6. He was a 6x5 with forks. He was always kind of a nice big frame, but he's like a straight 6x6. But he's been super. I mean, all the times we hunted here, I don't think anybody's even seen him. But so he's everywhere.
Pretty elusive then.
Yeah, he's like everywhere and nowhere. You get pictures of him like almost every week, but never in the same spot. And see, we've always had this. It's been a setup, and we shot some giants out of here with the muzzleloader from that redneck and stuff. But you can see it's long shots at stuff. So I was thinking about doing is, you always like that green to grain transition. They got like, from corn to a wheat field or else, corn to a turnip field or something. So you can see where they've all eaten this out. There's no corn in that anyway. So I was thinking about doing is, kind of getting a mower and just mowing out, just leaving anything that's standing that might still put some ears on, like maybe like from that corner, kind of make it like a pie shape here, like go out there and go into a pie shape. And we'll just mow that out and then rototill this up and then plant like perfect 10 in here right now. Yeah. And in that corner, I think we'll put like a rubbing post and one of the Grizzly water troughs. And then we'll take this redneck out and we'll go around because this cornfield, you can walk right around the back side. The road goes on the back side. We can come in from the back side and stick it right in there. Yeah. So then when you come in to hunt it, you can get in and out of it without any deer even seeing you. And sneak up that thing and you look out, you'll have like corn right in front of you and a sliver of turnips right there, but right like at 20 yards we'll have a rubbing post, and the water, they should be, got 2 months for them to get used to it. And then you can even, it's only going to be like whatever 30 or 40 yards from the clover, so likely they'll come out and eat in the clover and work their way that way, or a lot of times they come out of the ditch from back in here and come up there. But at least it's a way we can archery hunt this, with the corn. When it's beans, you just don't have a real option. There's a spot just like this in the middle too that I think we'll do both places. Like I said, he's never been regular anywhere. He's just kind of been all over. Maybe now that he's like 6, that he might start feeling a little bit more dominant even over some of the more aggressive ones, and he might kind of take up a residency someplace. Sure. Over the last 2 years, he was mostly in the middle field. That we'll go kind of do the same thing. Okay. We have a little, just a small clover field, but there's corn up next and they've been eating the heck out of that corn, so we'll kind of do the same thing there. And between those 2 spots, we should be able to pin them in up to this way. So, and then tomorrow we'll bring the rototiller and planters. We'll just come and fertilize and bush hog it first, and then we'll fertilize it and put some liquid fertilizer on there and take that G10 drill and probably get the turnips right in it tomorrow. And we'll do that same thing on that middle one, and we'll kind of be done with it. Okay, well, we've just been here basically on morning staging equipment, getting all the tractors and everything here, because we need a mower to mow this corn out, a rototiller, fertilize it, plant it, all that stuff. So we're gonna get started on, we're just gonna take them one piece at a time. Like we didn't go yesterday to the other field, but it's basically the same thing. We'll go down there after this. It's corn like this. We got a little clover field. It's just a small patch in the middle. But you can see like how all that's eaten right there. I'm just gonna take the mower first and just mow it out wherever, you know, up to where the corn is standing, and that's where we'll put the turnips in, or the perfect 10. Then we'll put a water trough, we'll move this, we'll get all that stuff done. We'll just take one piece at a time here. You know, gosh, it's nice with the rain this year and heat. This clover is just beautiful. So it's gonna be awesome. It's, you know, hopefully we can get that 12 point up here, which again, thanks for all the comments that we had for naming that last buck, and we'll, at the end of this episode, we'll get to that, the winner of that. I'm gonna do probably the same thing because that was so successful on that for naming this deer, because I don't really have a name for him yet either. So we'll do another giveaway of another camera at the end of this video. I'll give you some information on that. But for right now, I'll get in the mower first, and where there's first corn standing that has any corn in it, that's where I'll just determine the shape of my field. So I'm gonna hop in the tractor with the mower and get started on that. Okay, I just mowed out kind of the shape that we're gonna do the turnips, and really where we put the redneck up, you won't be able to see it. It's like an S curve in there, but that's just, I'm just kind of getting out what was eaten, but that'll be okay. Like now with the corn standing, you won't, but when we cut some of that corn, you know, it'll all be open, so we'll be able to see the whole thing from the redneck when we move it. But so since that was already in corn, so it's already been limed and fertilized and everything for corn with a lot of nitrogen and stuff like that. And then turnips, usually like my perfect 10, I usually like having a little bit of nitrogen in there. So I do have some fertilizer, and it's basically like 40 pounds of an acre of pelletized lime, just to make sure that, you know, it's on the edge and stuff if it didn't get limed real good right there. And it has just basically a micro pack that has like some of the, you know, the coppers and borons and sulfurs and stuff like that in there. And then a little bit of potash, a little bit of nitrogen, a little bit of the other stuff. But it's basically just those micronutrients in there. And I have a liquid spray that we put on it as well, because those turnips and stuff, it's just, they really need like the borons and sulfurs and some of that stuff that you don't really think about. You're always just thinking of, you know, nitrogen and P and K for this stuff. But it's really, we found like to get a real good stand of that stuff, you need all those micronutrients too. So I'm just gonna hit it again with the fertilizer there, and then we'll rototill that fertilizer in there, and then I'll hit it with a spray fertilizer on top too that has more of the micro stuff, and then we'll plant it. For this, I just wanna put it like 2 inches in the ground and just skim that top, so keep it nice and firm still for when we use a no-till G10, that it's not sinking in, you know, putting your seed in 5 inches deep. You want this brassica seed and stuff just under like a 1/4 inch deep at the most. So we're just kind of skim over the top of it with the rototiller, and hopefully we can just go light enough that no-till will work really good. And if it happens to get too deep or something like that, we can always pull the brilliant and do it with that too. But I'd like to use the G10, because that, for a mix with that G10 from Wildlife Farming, you can put any mix in there you want. And say, okay, I'm going to plant this at, you know, 15 pounds an acre. You know, you can have every different size, shape, seed, and then it's just so easy. It takes you 5 minutes to calibrate it, boom, to measure it out, and it's good to go. So with a brilliant, if I was going to do like a perfect 10 that has oats and wheat and stuff like that in there too, I'd have to have it separated, and I have to use like the wheat and stuff in the back box and the small seed in the front. So the nice thing about having G10, you can put any mixture, big seed, small seed, everything together. It's got a mixer in there, mixes it up, drops all the seed no matter what size or shape. So that's the nice thing about that, so we don't have to separate it. In an ideal world, we would have done this, you know, a month ago and had it, you know, had it already dished up and settled and get some rain on and stuff and kind of harden it down. That works perfect for like that G10. But obviously these were all standing corn and deer were still in it. We didn't even know that this was going to be the plan for this at that time. So I'm going to get in that and start tilling it. Yeah. Yeah, I think just right there, close up to that side where we can still get a mower around. All right, here's the second spot on the same farm where you see that corn just did beautifully, you know, where you can see how the deer just absolutely wiped it out. So we don't want those feeders next to that corn there, because you can see what they do when you're drawing them to like a feeder, and they only spend a couple minutes at the feeder anyway. But I got a bean field down there, but look how much of this cornfield they wiped out. I mean, it's literally 2 to 3 acres worth on this. So I'll get in the mower and mow this out, do the same thing here, so it'll be kind of the same setup. I'm not sure, like I said, the 12 point, I don't have a name for yet. I mean, he's been at both of these places, and he's been on the south end. He's been kind of all over. Like I said, he's everywhere and nowhere. So I'm just thinking if I get 2 setups like this, we'll just see if we can't get him at least for a week or 2, starting to just kind of get focused on one spot. If you get him even 2 days in a row or something when it gets close to October, or 3 days in a row, starting, okay, that's where we're gonna hunt. You know, and then also wind, you know, this is a total different setup than over there, so it might be better wind at one or the other, but more than anything, it's where we see them, you know, most, and that's where we'll kind of try to direct him to, you know, to one of these 2 spots, and hopefully he'll just kind of gravitate towards one of them, and we can make that decision then. But there's several bucks here that we can hunt. There's probably at least 3 or 4 that are mature this year, so all these setups will be awesome. So I'll get in and mow this out, and we'll get started on this piece. I'm gonna try something different on this. The north one, I ran with the rototiller. You know, I'm just not sure with that G10, you just don't want it too fluffy for a no-till like that. So I'm gonna do this one in no-till. Like, let's say if we did that straight one, that's in the middle. So that's probably about 10, 11, so maybe just like right here, and then the turnips will come right down this edge. Put a rubbing post with a branch on it. Straight, right there. Joel is down in this, draining the water out of that, and we'll run down and see how far Joel is getting. It's always on these wet years, you see this big piece here stays wet. So I thought about maybe even just making a pond in here to let it grow, you know, to fill up, but I just don't know if you'd get it deep enough here, if there'd be enough water, and it would probably just get you know, full of algae and mud and stuff anyway. And just for EHD, if you can't make a big pond with steep sides, or rocket or something, I just like to use the water trough, like the Grizzly water trough there, and then you can just pull it out. You can just, you know, easy to drain the water out and put new water in there. You don't have to really worry about EHD so much. So take a look and see how much we had to do on this. Yeah, you can see it was nice that it's just so right next to the creek here. And he just dug a trench down. You see how the water's just flowing right now through this out to the creek, and even the creek is flowing. Normally there's not that much water in that, we just had so much rain. So what I'll do, we'll wait for all this water to dry up. You can see it running like crazy. So when that all dries up, then I'll come in here with the landau, the disc, and disc it all smooth and smooth that out to make sure it's a nice runway for water to get out of there, and it'll never sit on there long enough to kill that clover. So, but boy, yeah, normally, like last year, this thing didn't have water in it all year. You can see it's just flowing, you know, for how much rain we've had. It's awesome that we got moving water and stuff in here. You don't have to really worry about EHD this year, and kind of start building our herd back up. Lost so many of our older bucks, you know, lost some of them anyway. Some of them didn't show back up. So, I mean, we found their sheds and pictures after the season and everything. You figure they made it, but they just haven't shown up. So I don't know if they died later or what happened, but you know what happens, and you just hope you keep continuing another streak of 5, 6, 7, 8 years of good rain and stuff with no EHD, just build it back up again. That's all you can do. So this year I have a feeling we have a couple of bigger bucks, but I think we have some nice big 10s and stuff that are even 5. I think what I'm going to do this year is just basically just target the 8 points in management deer on all of our Iowa stuff, and just leave every good deer, even some that we would normally shoot that are 170 inch, you know, typical 10s and stuff like that. I think we're just gonna target the 8s and stuff and just leave all those everywhere and just chalk this year up. Hey, we got one big one. I'll have Tiffany on that one. I got that one bigger one on here. They'll hunt, but other than that, I think we'll just kind of target management deer and just, you know, since we lost a bunch of them, and be, you know, next year if we can get a bunch of those through, we'd have just a phenomenal year, get right back to where we want to be next year instead of having to wait 3, 4, 5 years to get back where we want to be. So it's real nice on this G10 drill that we got here from Wildlife Farming. You know, we had it on 2 inches deep where we did beans earlier this year with it, but now you can go from 2 inch to 1 inch to 1/2 inch. So I'm just moving this all for brassicas. I'm just moving it all down to the 1/2 inch holes on it to kind of get it as shallow as we can with that. And I just got all those switched over. You know, I'll put that back down again. We'll get some seed in there and we'll get our perfect 10 in the ground here. So we're going to use this perfect 10 here, and you can see, I'll put them in there first and you'll see all the different seed sizes. But this does a 1/2 acre, and this bag is a 20 pound. So we want it to set for like 45 pounds an acre, maybe just a little bit heavier. And you know, a lot when it comes to like clovers and seeds like that, I always do them very heavy. Like if they say 8 pounds per acre, I do it double, like 15. And just to make sure I get a good, thick, solid stand that it blocks out the weeds and there's not as much weed competition and anything else. But when it comes to seed like this, like Perfect 10 and these Pro Brassicas, you do not want to go too heavy on that, because those turnips, you got to remember, they get the size of a softball. And if you have those seeds right next to each other, they're not going to be able to grow. So they has to be spaced out. You know, that's why in a lot of these mixes you have the rape and the collards and different stuff like that in there. So you separate the turnips and radishes and stuff out, because they're right next to each other. They're not going to grow. They need a big space to grow in. So that's one thing I wouldn't recommend on any of those brassicas. You don't want to go heavy on that. Just go the recommended rate on it. So in this, I'm just going to got a hair in the bag. So that one's on the bottom, but you see this thing has everything from, you know, winter peas to turnip and rape seeds. They're very small, all different sizes of seeds. Yeah, so you got wheat, ryegrass, oats, Austrian winter peas, trapper radish, a Dixie crimson clover, even a little bit of crimson clover in there, purple top turnips, trophy rapeseed, forage collards, and even some sugar beets. So it's all the stuff you'd want in a mix for sure. But if you were going to do that like with a different drill than this, you'd have to have the big seed and the small seed all mixed in different you know, boxes, and you'd have to have a different box, you know, for all those different sizes on your drill. And then with the G10 drill, it doesn't matter. You just put them in, and everything that you put in here comes out, and you have a way to monitor that, you know, to weigh it out. This is all, you know, from soybeans to clover, purple top turnips, all that kind of stuff. But they start getting into the specific brands and stuff here too. Here's Analogics Pro Brassica, Analogics Pro Sugar Beets, Analogics Pro Clover, Analogics Holy Clover, Analogics Perfect 10 right there. So you want the gate number for Perfect 10 at 1.5. And the gate is over here on this side. So you can see here, 0, 1, 2, 3. We're at 1.5 right in the middle. So that's where we want the gate at for a Perfect 10. And then it gives you two options. You want it 35 or 45. So you could do it in the middle if you want it exactly at 40. You can do it at 3 if you want 35, 4 if you want 45, 3.5 if you want 40. And it calls for 40, but I will do maybe just a little heavier on this. For 45 pounds, it'd be at 4, and I might go a little bit less. It'd be like 3.5 for a 40, what it recommends. But you don't have to worry with Perfect 10. Not worried so much as like the Pro Brassica, where it's all small seeds that you have to make sure there's spacing in between them. But with Perfect 10, it has so much of the Austrian winter peas and sugar beets and the oats or the wheat and rye, that there's a lot of bigger seed in there too that doesn't need to be spaced so much. So just by the numbers of it, I'll probably keep it a little bit heavier on that, just because I want to make sure that I get enough of the wheat seed in there, and especially like on farms like here where we got a ton of turkeys. I mean, turkeys were struggling for a few years, but now we had those dry years in a row and the turkeys are just taking off. I mean, you come up, every time we drive into these fields, there's turkeys in there. And so a lot of times you plant that, the turkeys come right behind it and peck it out, and then plus you got deer damage as it comes out and they pull them out. So normally you can go a little bit heavier and get away with it, and especially in places where we got turkeys and a lot of deer, because you know that they're gonna take some of them out anyway. So I'm gonna keep it a little bit high, but if you have a farm that's doesn't have a lot of deer or turkey pressure on it, you might want to just go with what's on the bag on those. But at clovers and alfalfa stuff, I'll always go high because I want to make it super thick and just not have any competition from grasses in there. All right, let's go get some in the ground. At 45 pounds an acre is quite a bit, that if you're just seeing a few up on top, it's likely good. Grain transition right here, and a big 3-acre beautiful clover field right there. Have water, rubbing posts, corn, Perfect 10, have everything right here. So if there's a big one, we'll get a shot at them right here, I'll guarantee. No leaves get in front of it. All right, so if you guys haven't seen the new Tacticam 3.0s, they're unreal. The camera, the picture quality is like it when you requested an HD photo in the past. It's just such a night and day difference, the picture quality. They really worked on that and they just killed it with that. And there's a lot of other changes in the camera too. Like before, if it was trying to send a picture and you were taking some more of them, it wouldn't, you'd always had to check the card to make sure that see what you actually got on there, because if it was in the process of sending, if you have like bad service or something, all those pictures that I took in the meantime never were sent to you. They were on the card, but they weren't sent to you. Now it just backs them up and it'll just send them to you as it gets serviced. So you'll never miss a picture. There'll never be anything on the card that that you don't see on your phone. And another thing is there's a slot for an SD card, but you don't need to have one. It just has an internal memory, and so I don't even put a card in these anymore. And also another thing that you'll notice is it doesn't have a SIM card. And so you never have to change that out. You never have to worry about that. And when it's looking for service right now, it'll check every carrier, wherever's your best, wherever has your best service. That's when that'll lock onto, whether it be AT&T, US Cellular, Verizon, whatever. A little distracted. I see a deer coming out in our clover field here already with us here, so hopefully they'll be doing that during the season, which I'm sure they will. But so that's another thing. It just, you don't have to choose a carrier, it'll just automatically pick which one has the best service here. And so you don't have to, no SIM card, no SD card. And another thing is the app. You you'll see in the new app right now that they came out with that the pictures are bigger and it's just a lot more features on it, but they're doing another release here later in August. They'll have a whole bunch of new features on it. We'll go over those when that comes out. But if you haven't seen the new 3.0 Tacticams yet, you're going to want them. And somebody who just named our last one, we'll reveal who that is at the end, just won one, and we'll give somebody else an opportunity to win another one here if they name this buck. So it's getting late. I didn't realize it was 5 o'clock already. Well, let's run down. We'll just plant the field. And the other one that we did yesterday, we put the water tank in and got that all prepped and fertilized and everything yesterday. We'll go plant that one, and then we'll move on to the next farm. Okay, last thing, we got water troughs filled, we got fields planted here, we got the rubbing posts in. It's gonna put the active branch from Wildlife Research on here. All right, well that just about does it for this episode. For this deer, we just got the food plots planted and everything. We're all set. I'm gonna have probably a ground blind in the corn, but I also want a stand up in that tree right there, so we'll have that to do. But other than that, thanks again for watching, and as promised, the name that we picked for the buck on the last episode was Johnny Walker. So that camera will send it out to the Morgans. I think their page is free-ranging Morgan, so congratulations. And that name kind of fit perfectly because all along I kind of had the idea that maybe John Hoyer would be going after that buck, and since we already have Crown Royal, Johnny Walker, and they're on the same exact farm, just different ends of that same farm, I think it was just fitting. So congratulations to Morgans for winning that. But now we got the same one going on this one. So I'm going to throw up some pictures here of this buck over the last 3 years. He was like a 6x5. Now I believe he's a 6x6, although I haven't gotten a great picture of him this year. It seems like every time I've gotten a picture, it's been dark and it's been, you know, not the right angles, but he's like a 6x6. He's got same configuration. He's got big brows. I think one of them is split. So you guys come up with the name for this deer. Pick the winner for that. We'll send out another Tacticam 3.0. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to hit subscribe.